We begin with breaking news. Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport has suspended operations, delaying incoming flights after the military launched a series of strikes towards Lebanon. Israeli forces say they've launched preemptive strikes on Hezbollah positions after accusing the armed group of preparing to launch an extensive attack. Well, these are images of the overnight Israeli air strikes in southern Lebanon. There's been concern in recent weeks that Hezbollah along with Iran were planning to retaliate after the assassination of Hamas political chief Hania in Tehran and a senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut. And these are images coming from northern Israel in the aftermath of those strikes on Lebanon. It appears to show Israel's Iron Dome defense system activating in the skies over the border region. Sirens are also going off in the area, and the Israeli Security Cabinet has called for an emergency meeting that's meant to take place in about an hour or so. Well, Al Jazeera's Zina joins me on the phone now from Beirut. Zina, Israel says this is a preemptive strike to prevent Hezbollah attacking Israeli territory. What more can you tell us? What are you hearing there?
Well, Israel has carried out a significant aerial attack in a number of areas in southern Lebanon. What we're getting are reports of at least 40 strikes, so a widespread preemptive attack. That's how the Israeli army is calling this a preemptive attack against Hez. It is claiming that it learned that Hezbollah was planning an attack and that there was overnight preparations in Hezbollah's rocket array for a major and immediate attack on Israel. So that's what the army is saying, and that the fighter jets are removing the threat. Now Hezbollah has promised to retaliate for the killing of its top commander Vad Shukr on July the 30th. He was killed in an Israeli strike in the heart of Beirut, which really, even though he was a military target, the targeting in the heart of Beirut violated the unwritten rules of engagement with which both sides really have been sticking to in their ongoing confrontation. So since then Hezbollah has been promising a response, and since then there has been an intensification of the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel. We've seen more frequency in attacks, more sustained attacks by both parties. Now there were non-stop strikes in southern Lebanon, but we are also getting reports of Hezbollah firing back using drones and rockets, and that there have been alerts across northern Israel. This is and has been a very dangerous conflict, even though largely contained. There is really concern that it could expand and spiral out of control. We are expected to hear from the Israeli army spokesperson shortly. There are reports that this could the initial wave, if you like, of attacks in southern Lebanon has now ended. So we're waiting to hear from the Israeli army to see whether or not these preemptive strikes end here, or whether they plan to carry out more strikes which could in turn trigger a Hezbollah response and expand this conflict.
Yeah, as you say, the strikes seem pretty extensive. Just talk us through where in southern Lebanon did they take place?
Well, most of the strikes were in the border area, up to 5-kilometer deep territory along the 120 km border is now a military zone. It's been evacuated of civilians. It's been repeatedly hit by the Israeli army in recent months. Much of the villages along that border have been leveled to the ground, but Hezbollah is still present there, and as of late Israel too has been striking what it calls Hezbollah targets deeper inside Lebanon across southern Lebanon. And just a few days ago there was a targeted assassination in the southern city of Saida. This is 40 kilometers south of Beirut. Another strategy that Israel has been employing in recent months is targeted killings, taking out members and commanders of Hezbollah, not just Hezbollah but other groups, Palestinian groups that are allied with Hezbollah. Remember, Hezbollah opened up this front in October to help its ally Hamas in Gaza, and Hezbollah has repeatedly said it will not stop or halt firing until there's a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So this conflict will continue and will remain a dangerous conflict as long as the war in Gaza continues. And without that ceasefire there can be no diplomatic solution to this conflict. Israel, Western nations have sent their envoys to Lebanon in recent months to try to find a diplomatic arrangement. But their efforts have failed, so this is a very dangerous conflict. Is this just an initial wave of attacks and this preemptive operation is over and we go back to what have we been witnessing? In recent months, the sporadic escalation, 2 to 3 days of escalation and then 2 to 3 days of calm, or are we going to witness a very new and different phase in this conflict which is going to involve more violence, more sustained strikes and a much expanded conflict?
Yeah, Zina, as you say, Israel and Hezbollah have been trading rocket and artillery attacks since the start of the Gaza war last October. Just remind our viewers of the background to that, and how serious is this specific escalation.
Well, this escalation no doubt is serious because it's not the first time Israel has carried out intensive strikes such as what we've witnessed. Yes, maybe the number is more than on previous occasions, but Israel has carried out significant aerial attacks on Lebanon in the past 10 months, targeting various locations near. Simultaneously, last week we had major attacks in the Baykar region that's in the east of the country, very close to the Syrian border, that's kilometers away from the main battleground along the border, and Israel targeted Hezbollah's weapons depot in that area. So Israel has really carried out significant aerial attacks on this country in the past, but the timing, Israel is claiming now that Hezbollah was preparing for a major and quote immediate attack on Israel for the killing of their commander Fad Shukr. Will this mean that following these strikes Hezbollah will carry out this major attack? It has promised to do so, and if it does, will this trigger even more harsh retaliation from Israel? Hezbollah has repeatedly said time and time again through its words, through its actions, that it doesn't want a full-on war with Israel. It opened this front for a reason. It said it opened up this front in solidarity with Gaza. It believes that by targeting areas in northern Israel, creating a military zone, displacing tens of thousands of people, puts enough pressure on the Israeli government. And they also believe that by bogging down divisions of the Israeli army in the north, it will relieve military pressure on Gaza. The Hezbollah leader Hassan Nah himself has said this time and time again, but the intentions of Israel is what everybody questions in Lebanon. Here there is a feeling that Israel is looking for, quote, any excuse to widen the conflict and to carry out more strikes and to divert attention from what they believe is Israel's defeat in Gaza. Even the Israeli Defense Minister a few days ago said that the attention is now moving from the southern front to the northern front, and that means to its fight with Hezbollah. But what Israel has been doing in recent months really is using this as an opportunity to degrade the military capabilities of Hezbollah by targeting its weapons depots, its rocket launchers, its infrastructure, its fighters. Its Lebanon has become a very similar battlefield as Syria. In Syria, Israel has repeatedly targeted Iranian and Iranian-linked assets for years now, and many are now comparing that battlefield to the Lebanon battlefield, and in many ways Israel is acting with little restraint, which puts pressure on Hezbollah to create a new deterrence equation. And when you have this situation where Israel acts with no restraint and Hezbollah needing to impose some sort of deterrence, that is when the situation does become dangerous, because it means Hezbollah will need to act, it will need to respond, and after it does that, what will Israel do in return? So no doubt again, this conflict a new turning point, yet a new dangerous phase, and we've seen this time and again in the past 10 months. But if these initial strikes of this initial wave, if you like, has ended and this round is over, maybe there will be calm, but for how long is the question.
Yeah, and just to remind our viewers, Zina, you talk about this growing concern that Hezbollah and Iran were preparing or would prepare a retaliatory strike against Israel after the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tan and that senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut. How much are those concerns playing out here tonight?
Well, no doubt, many Lebanese have been on the edge. They are concerned. This is a country which has seen years of political instability. This is a country that's witnessed a financial collapse 5 years ago, and it is still reeling from that financial collapse. People have lost their savings in banks. And what people talk about almost every day is, what are we going to do in the event of this conflict widening, expanding? We don't have money or savings to be able to rent apartments outside of Beirut or areas which would be considered safer than Beirut. Some people have started to stockpile on water and food. The hotels are now empty. This is the tourist season. People were expecting expats to return home and tourists to bring in much needed hard currency. The taxi driver in the street tells you, oh my, you're my first customer in 2 hours. People have left the capital because Israel has threatened in the past, and it has hit Beirut's southern suburbs in the past, which is considered a Hezbollah stronghold. In fact, that was where Israel killed the top commander Fad Shukr on July the 30th. People have moved out of that area, so. People are concerned about what will happen, and people are concerned about making ends meet. A lot of people you rely on, day-to-day work, so there is concern. A lot of airlines had cancelled their flights to Lebanon. Now we're hearing that Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv has suspended and postponed all flights as a result of the situation. So yes, there is concern, but there are others who will say that they believe that any escalation will be controlled simply because both parties, Israel and Hezbollah, know the consequences of widening this conflict. Yes, Israel can hurt Hezbollah, but Hezbollah too has long-range precision-guided missiles that can strike anywhere in Israel. At the moment, rockets have not been landing in Israel's third largest city, which is approximately 3,040 kilometers from the border, which Hezbollah can easily target. Rockets have not been falling on Tel Aviv, so far both sides have avoided targeting population centers very much. Surgical strikes, but there's no doubt civilians have been caught in the crossfire in this conflict. More than 130 civilians on the side of the border have been killed in the ongoing hostilities. 21 paramedics as well have been killed. They have not been spared. Every time, some of them have been deliberately hit as they enter the military zone very close to the border to remove, bodies underneath the rubble. So this is a conflict that has had an impact and felt across the country, even though it has been largely confined to the border area. Thanks for watching this video.